Miss Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone is an actor, producer, director, activist, and humanitarian. She has appeared in over 50 films, was nominated for an Oscar for Casino, and is the recipient of Golden Globe and Emmy Awards. Stone has been the global campaign chair of the American Foundation for AIDS Research for 20 years, and is the cultural chair of YALA, the online organization for peace in the Middle East. She is a visiting professor at Harvard University and recipient of the Humanitarian Awards. Stone is a member and supporting principal of the American Himalaya Foundation and has been honored with the World Charity Award, Knight, and Commander of Letters from the French government, a humanitarian awards from the Human Rights Campaign, and was Citizens of the Year of LA. Ms. Sharon Stone.
Hello.
Ms. Stone, YALA. Let's talk about YALA first. Will it work? Can it work? Tell us a little bit about this project of...
It is working. YALA is such a fantastic thing, designed by Uri Savier, who,
I see that you have also a tough crowd here.
who is such a sensational mind, one of the great intellects that I've ever met. And this concept, since we know that we have 7 billion people on the planet and 6 billion cell phones, we have people who don't have water, don't have a place to go to the bathroom, and they have a cell phone. So we know that we have the ability to communicate around the world, and we understand that we're going to have many more cell phones than we have people in very short order. So we have the opportunity not only to communicate around the world, but we have the opportunity to communicate in ways where we can do a marketing analysis of the things that people reach out and touch on their cell phones. We have ability to understand how and what interests and entertain particularly young people. And through that, we can form a way and a style of communicating with people. And we've done that with YALA. And because of that, we now have 365,000 people all over the Middle East on YALA, all people who are interested in peace.
But the vision of that is what? Is like a revolutionary youth foundation that will going from grassroots to influence governments?
Yes, absolutely. I think what we're seeing now is that people are interested, and this is not new. We look at the Czech Republic, we look at Poland, we've seen peaceful overthrows of inappropriate governments in the past. This is not new news. But we do see that people want to know how to have peaceful revolutions. We see that people want to know how to have a peaceful way, not only to revolutionize their governments, but peaceful ways to revolutionize themselves, their households, their schools, to be able to say peacefully, this is who I am, and I want to be able to express the truth of myself.
You began grade school at the age of 5 and went straight to the second grade. And you began your undergraduate studies at the mere age of 15. And after all your achievement as an actress and director and producer, do you see yourself in fantasy going on another path? Because it seems like you're qualified for a lot of other areas other than only acting or being model.
Are you offering me a job?
No. I'm asking you to get into fantasy land and to share with us, if you've not been an actress, what do you think, what kind of path would you choose?
Well,
is it business, politics, science?
I am choosing you know, it's an astonishing thing when you become famous. Fame is a very interesting vehicle. And it can be like a Hummer. It can be a big vehicle that takes a lot of gas and takes up a lot of space in your garage, and then what? Or you can use the vehicle of fame very successfully and make it a smart car. And for me, it was a tremendous opportunity to use the power and influence of my fame, which came very quickly and very globally, for something valuable, something valid, and something, for me, something interesting. So to have the opportunity to apply my fame to AIDS, which was exactly at the intersection of my fame when we had so many people. When I began working as an AIDS worker, there were 11 million people with AIDS. And it was just simply a death sentence. There was no opportunity for life extension. It just wasn't working, and we were just coming out of that phase where it was called GLAD. It was a gay-related immune deficiency disease, and it was just becoming AIDS, and people were very afraid and embarrassed and ashamed to talk about AIDS, and people in their households, and certainly in governments and in the army and everything, no one wanted to, schools, no one wanted to address AIDS. So to pick up this mantle that had been carried by the very blessed and wonderful Dame Elizabeth Taylor was an amazing opportunity for me, and something that has been so enriching to my life and so educational for me to understand that AIDS is not just AIDS per se. It's an opportunity to see how humanity works and how we treat each other. And through this experience of being able to speak not only to my own government, but because AIDS is a global circumstance, I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world and speak to government leaders all over the world. And by doing that, I've started to see other situations, other crises, and how as we come closer, and certainly this year we've had a cure for a child in pediatric AIDS that we feel we can replicate, which is, after 20 years, quite extraordinary and quite exciting. And I would like to take this opportunity just to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who've dedicated yourselves to helping us find this cure for AIDS, because I know that each and every one of you who is here today has been touched by AIDS, in your family, in your businesses, in your friendships. So it goes to a very heartfelt place when I say, thank you for your dedication and devotion. Thank you for opening your hearts and your financial cares to those people with AIDS. We are definitely getting somewhere. And in the same way that people didn't believe and didn't understand that we could look at AIDS in a new way 20 years ago, I believe that we can look at peace in the very same way.
As what? As a fatal disease?
Yes, because the absence of peace is a fatal disease, just like AIDS. And if we don't look at this in the same way, if we don't put down our prejudices, if we don't put down our burdens, if we don't put down our demands on each other, in the very same way that we looked at AIDS, we'll never have peace, just like we wouldn't have a cure for AIDS.
But I want to tackle you on that, because a lot of people said, okay, now they're starting this rhythm again about the peace, but we Israeli, we know what's going around. See what's happening in our neighborhood. We see Egypt going Islamic, we see Syria breaking apart, Jordan is on a verge, Hamas took over Gaza. On what peace exactly we're speaking about?
It's funny, but it's the same kind of principle. And we have to look at things really from not such an esoteric or an abstract way, because certainly we look back historically at the Middle East. Every faction comes from a deep-rooted, different developmental way that each religion, each ethnicity, each thing developed. And if we try to get into all of the depths of all of this, a solution it's an impossible construct. But as my sister said, we have to think of it as the KISS principle. Each of these things, the way we looked at AIDS, she calls it the keep it simple, stupid principle. So if we get above that, it's like if you're drowning. If you're drowning in a riptide, you can't get out of it if you keep fighting this turbulence. You'll drown. But if you relax and you get above it to the truth, to the water where the sunshine can come in, to the light and easy waters, you're going to float out of it and you're not going to drown.
I want to take you to another avenue. You know, Shimon Peres has said on occasion that the biggest problem in the Middle East is male chauvinism. And that when the men in the region will stop treating their wives and women as a property and begin acting as their equal partners, we could finally see some progress. Would you agree?
I think that, first of all, I admire and respect President Perez just immensely, and he's been an extraordinary mentor for me. One of the things that I like about President Perez very much is his sense of responsibility. So while I commend him on his sense of responsibility, I would not say that it's appropriate simply to blame men. I think that mothers make men. And I think that as mothers, we have to create men not to be men who believe that anger and resentment, hatred and revenge is the answer. I think that as mothers, we have to teach our sons, respect our husbands, talk to our brothers in a way that allows men and ourselves to understand that there is another way, that we can be free within ourselves to stand up for the truth of our own desires for love. Every single person's truest desire is to love and be loved. And if we can put down our other demands and reach for our truest desire, we have a better probability of reaching our other goals. If we reach for our other goals through argumentation, the possibility of getting it logically is less. If I reach to you through an argument, the possibility of you giving me what I want is practically zero. If I reach to you through love, the possibility of me getting what I want is possibly 100%.
Let's speak about love for a second.
Right, ladies?
Yes. By the way, love, what connects you to Israel?
Well, what I really have always felt is that for so many reasons, we all look to Israel as an example. For most of us, much of the stories of the Bible stories, much of our religious stories, much of our stories around the world come back to not just to Israel, but to the Middle East and Asia. Whether it's Israel, whether it's Asia, whichever aspect of our religious beliefs are, they start in the Middle East. So we look here for the example of what we're going to do. And as long as the Middle East is fighting, the whole world's going to be fighting. When we lead by the example of peace, the rest of the world will follow. So to come here, but particularly because I have such a compelling feeling that this is the place that will lead the peaceful example, I just instinctually feel that this area will lead the peaceful example.
Can you tell us a little bit about your older son bar mitzvah yesterday?
Yes, my oldest son, Rowan, was bar mitzvahed yesterday at the wall.
And how was it for you?
Back again, I have to talk as a mother. You know, when our children reach these moments, it's just so extraordinary. For the first time, he had his own hotel room. And I have to say, when I was about to close the door the first night, and I said, "Would you like help with your jammies?" And he was like, "Mom, come on." And I said, "Do you want me to tuck you in?" And he was like, "Get out of my room." And I stood at the door, and I realized the next day he would be bar mitzvahed. And he really was. at the beginning of the onset of his manhood and his adulthood. And I said, but you will always be my baby.
And you also had a chance, I saw in today's show, that you met a fan of yours with a picture on his T-shirt.
Yeah, of course, because I was out buying rugs. I was out in the rugs, looking at all these different rugs, and everybody, you say, and this is the funniest thing that happened to my sister. This guy said to her, "What are you looking for?" And she said, "Nothing." And he said, "What color of nothing?" So, welcome to Israel. So, we're walking down the street, and this guy walked up to me and he said, "I don't want you to think I'm really creepy." And I looked up, and he had a T-shirt on with my picture on the front. And of course, I was instantly in love with him. So I took a picture with him, and he put it on Facebook, and it's become some kind of crazy sensation.
500,000 people, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you made your living here. You once said in an interview that you never felt like a true blonde, but rather as a Sephardic Jew. Can you elaborate on that?
I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and we said we want to make a movie where you go to see some kind of psychiatrist, and when you have your breakthrough moment, you walk down the street and you blow apart, and you turn into the thing you actually are. Whether you turn into a different kind of person, or you turn into an animal, or you turn into like whatever you are. And I always think that I'll turn into some kind of dark-skinned person with kind of an afro. Like, when you're born, you don't pick the skin you're in. But I think that you are the thing you need to be to achieve your own destiny. But as I say, after marrying 2 Jews, I'm not a Jew, but I'm Jewish.
Jew enough for us. You arrived in New York with $50 and a suitcase.
Yeah.
What was the point you told yourself, I've made it?
When I could stop walking miles down the street, opening every payphone, looking for the dimes and the quarters that someone forgot to take out so that I could eat.
That was the point.
Yeah.
In the wonderful program, The Actors Studio, we were asked about nudity in films. And there was a student...
You're not expecting me to be nude for this interview?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
All right?
Good. Though I feel that we could have a peace resolution.
Maybe for...
Right here, right now.
That's interesting. That will be me making my living. There was a student who asked you about it, and you said, "Go for it. Get naked in a film and get done with it." Do you think that people are making too much fuss about it?
On film, we do stories about life, and when you're sitting there, and we watch movies sometimes just to go out and get entertained on a weekend. But truly, we watch movies when we need something, when we need to feel loved, when we're sick and we want to feel well, when we're worried and we need to feel up, when we want to get out of the state that we're in. And we make movies about life. And in life, you're not always wearing a pretty dress. You're not always perfectly put together. And in life, a lot of times, I'm actually naked. And it's part of the human condition. It's part of how we are. It's part of the way we are. Just like we're broken sometimes we're naked. We're emotionally naked. We're emotionally vulnerable, and sometimes we're physically naked. For me, it's not such a big deal because we're telling the truth about our human condition. So I don't have shame about this aspect because I have a great belief in the transference of the story that I'm telling. And I am not concerned about, is my dress pretty? Is my dress ugly? Am I dressed? Am I undressed? Do I have a nice hair or a funny wig? It's not, I'm more concerned, how am I doing telling the story so that when you are in whatever state you're in, I'm meeting the truth of the thing that I'm doing, and it's creating the circle of the destiny that is mine.
Our time is up, but I have to ask you, as an actress in movies, do you also like to see movies?
I love to see
And
movies.
who's your best actor that you most love to see? De Niro is out, so you can speak the naked truth.
Well, I really love Spencer Tracy. I just loved Spencer Tracy. I thought he was just an amazing, amazing actor. But truly, working with Bob was a great, great gift to me. He's one of the truly, I mean, everyone loves to watch Robert De Niro on screen. But when you work with Bob, it's a journey, it's an educational journey. And it's a journey that made me a much, much better performer, a much greater actor, and it was for me one of the luckiest and most profoundly glorious times in my career.
And tell us the truth about us Israelis. What do you love about Israelis, if there is anything that you love?
I love that the men and the women are both strong and good, that you trust women to defend you as much as you trust men to defend you. I love that you open your hearts and your homes to your friends and to strangers. I love the way that you embrace and feed and love people. I love the way you made the soil come alive. I love the way that there isn't some kind of crazy love for mood stabilizers, because you don't think that everybody should just be like even. Because you know that even anger is beautiful, because it tells the truth, and you can be angry with your friend and still be friends because it's being honest with your friend, and you don't lie to somebody, you tell them how you really, really feel.
Ms. Sharon Stone, it was really a pleasure to having you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Udi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all. It was a pleasure.